So today, all of the presenters' time management has been great. This is very rare occasion experience for me. We are on track with our agenda. I thought that it may be difficult to respond. Perhaps we may be able to. Well, it's only less than 5 minutes, but we would like to receive one question as a common question that we have received many questions, but if we would like to open up the floor for one question, if you can summarize all of the questions. So among those questions, by looking into this landscape, so such ethical recruitment, we have to do so. And in summary, so we agree to this unfair and ethical recruitment of migrant workers. So coming back to Shishido-san's presentation, so the next topic is how we can do this to have drive the fair and ethical recruitment for migrant workers. So the cost burden, to how extensive the cost shall be burdened, by whom. So this is a very proactive proposal, and on the relevant areas, what we have heard so far. So Anna-san from ILO, in her presentation, she talked about pertaining to the Japanese language. So the employee, to the specified areas that should be burdened by the corporation. If not, then should not be burdened by the corporation side. So on the other hand, so what would be the scope for the exceptions? So it has to do with the country of origin stipulated by the labor ministry in the country of origin. And then on the other hand, in Ms. Harima's presentation, with the example of Cambodia, among others, so that has been done so. However, as it has not been validated in terms of the recruitment fee. So this perhaps has to do with the rule making that needs to take place in the country of origin. So especially, I would like to pose a question for ILO or RBA from the international perspective, from the country of origin, any of the rulemaking or the guidelines, if there are such initiatives are ongoing, it will be greatly appreciated if I ask you to respond. And I'm so sorry to put you on the spot, but Miss Anna-san, will you be able to say a few words about this point?
So my question is, so the people is now supporting this philosophy, but we need to find what is the rule. But according to the explanation till now, the regulation in the sending country side is not yet fixed, or even we have, it's not so much practical to protect the workers. So in that sense, as an international organization to support this kind of the ethical recruitment, if you know that some international movement to make such kind of the effective regulation in the sending side, we would like to ask you to share a bit.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, this is a very important question. And yes, indeed, there are efforts. And as you say, the regulatory side is very important. When we look at the Mekong countries, the Vietnam in their most recent review of their law, they stipulated that workers should not pay more than the equivalent of 3 work months in the destination side, which is a significant improvement compared to what you saw the figures that I presented before, that workers pay on average close to 7.5 months. So 3 months is significantly better. From our side, we note that it's an improvement, but there is scope to push this further. What we need to really look at is the enforcement of this new legislation. And the Bureau of Statistics is actually going to do a new study in December when they look at what workers actually are paying. So we will soon have some indications of the extent. So this is enforced. There may still be more that needs to be done. Cambodia is the only country in the Mekong region that haven't had caps on what recruitment agencies are allowed to charge. It's something that we have called for many years, but in January this year, they finally put some caps on this, and they've done so for recruitment to Japan and to Thailand. Unfortunately, these are very high, so they've set the cap for what agencies can charge workers to $5,000, which is already, we saw from Reiko's presentation, which is already actually more than what many are paying. And similar for recruitment to Thailand, they capped it at $500, which is also more than what many workers are actually paying today. But the intention is to set it high so that they can reduce it progressively. So that there are, in Indonesia, for example, also enacted zero-fee cost legislation some years back, but they had problem in implementing it, and now this legislation have been kind of set aside. So I think there is a lot more that needs to be done. And I just want to, and sorry I'm taking a lot of time here, but I also want to stress that, you know, from our side, I mean, what we are saying is that workers should not pay. It's the responsibility of employers. But the other very important side of this is that we also need to reduce costs overall. And the governments have a very important role to play. In our studies, we see that 70% of what workers are paying is actually costs that are directly linked to what governments control, work permits, visas, etc. So there's a lot of scope to reduce costs.
Thank you very much.
Just want to add like 2 words. I think, you know, in terms of the signal and what's going on, I mean, clearly we see that with some of the regulations that are coming out of Europe and the United States. It's clearly, we alluded to earlier. I think when we look at sending countries, and you said it very well, and I think the role of governments is so important. I mean, we can do a lot of efforts. Certainly JP-MIRAI is doing a lot of efforts in training and building, but it's those things that you just mentioned, these fees that are created, this lack of creating, you know, transparency, this lack of creating, you know, opportunities that lead to the challenge of being placed on the most vulnerable. So I think for us, you know, we'll continue to work and we open the partnership, but we need governments at the table to beginning to align with the international standards. And, you know, obviously the approach can't be all at one time because it could be too much. But, you know, we got to find the right way to do that, and I think we're certainly committed towards that. So I just really want to underline the role of government. I don't know, Rob, if you want to add anything.
I mean, I guess what I would say is our members do business in 120 countries around the world. And so uniformity is very important, and legal certainty. Relying on sending countries' laws to dictate receiving countries' laws is going to be a very difficult hill to climb. So we advocate for, you know, the way we govern our members is the code of conduct or local law, whichever is greater. And so we would advocate for the receiving countries to develop what's right for their countries, because the most systemic problems in the world are in the sending countries. It's not going to change overnight. Many of those countries are void of sound government oversight. Some are, some aren't. And so I would simply say pushing it back on the sending countries will be a very difficult challenge to ever get out in front of this issue.
突然の
Thank you very much for answering this question for very sudden question.
それでは前半の
So now we'd like to conclude the first part of this program and take a break. And so, thank you very much for those who asked the questions. So we'll take a 10 minutes break, and then the second half of the program, we will be starting the second half of the program in the 56 minutes, 4 minutes to the hour. Thank you. Next, in terms of panel discussion, we'd like to move on to panel discussion from JP-MIRAI Director, Mr. Kenichi Shishido. I will be the moderator of this panel discussion. Thank you. Once again, I will serve as the second part of the panel discussion moderator. Thank you. And today, as it has been we have invited some of the speakers, but also the new speakers as a panelist, as the affair en route, and also the current status of the country of origin, and also Japanese regulation and systems. And but now, from this panel discussion, however, we'd like to talk about more topics that we should have the fair and the ethical recruitment to how we can achieve in the actual field or in the practice. That is a panel discussion. Let me introduce the panelists in sequence. Let me introduce the panelists. Once those who participate, I'm sorry, but please introduce yourself, but also what you're doing in terms of the complements. From the person that is close to me, Mr. Benny Chan, who is from Sky, Sustainability Compliance Manager, Mr. Benny Chan. Please introduce yourself as well as what you're doing in your organization.
Good afternoon. Great to be here. So I'm Benny Chan from Hong Kong. I'm working with Sky for its sustainability program. So actually, I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but I have good experience about social compliance, CSR, and sustainability nowadays. So before joining Sky, I worked with a PVH. Okay, it's an apparel brand. Okay, for Calvin Klein, for Tommy Hilfiger, Migrant. You were in Switzerland. Okay, this is the #1 retailer there. Radio Shack, it was a very strong consumer electronic retailer in the States as well as Mexico. And Beauty Mart is a Swedish retailer. So this picture I took in Mishiwa, Handing Beach in Isu. Okay, I think some years ago with my family. So next slide, please. So actually, we are a British broadcaster. Okay, you may say football. Okay, we have a lot of channel, more than 130. Okay, for our customer. Okay, not only in the UK. Okay, but also in some European countries like Germany. Okay, Italy and Ireland. So we need to follow or embrace the law, not only UK but also EU law. So we have been a subsidiary of Comcast since 2018. What is Comcast? Comcast is a US version of Sky, and the scale is much bigger. It has more than 200,000 employees worldwide. Compared to Sky, we have 30,000. Our turnover a year is about 14 billion British pound. So you can see some key channel, key activities from this slide about us. Next slide, please. So I think we briefly mentioned that I'm from the right side, Hong Kong office, which is quite small, only 20 people. Majority of them are technical persons to support our suppliers on mechanical side, engineering side, as well as the quality control. Okay, because majority of our suppliers and factories are in Southeast Asia and China, Taiwan as well. And two of us, including my colleague Kate, okay, are in Hong Kong to oversee our human rights due diligence program, and RBA is our Bible, okay? Next slide, please. So we are from a sustainability team, okay, but it covers several areas, not only human rights due diligence. Okay, so as we mentioned, we are an RBA member. We embrace it. And then we also talking about Sky Zero. Okay, I think the target is similar to another many payers, okay, 2030, okay, by 50%, and then by 2050, it should be less zero. And we also care about the LCA, life cycle assessment, and ROS as well, for example. Next slide, please. I think should be that's all for me. Yep.
はい、
Thank you very much, Mr. Benny-chan. Thank you for coming from all the way to Japan and also from Vietnam, from the VAMMAS, Bahamas, the Vice Chair, Mr. Gwen Quinn, please.
Good afternoon. First, I want to thank you for inviting me to this symposium. My name is Nguyễn Ngọc Quỳnh. I'm Vice President of the Vietnam Association of Manpower Supply, in short, it's VAMAS. I highly appreciate this symposium and believe that it will make positive contribution to ensuring ethical recruitment of Vietnamese workers to Japan in compliance with the legal regulations of Vietnam and Japan, while also safeguarding the rights of both workers and employers. Our association represents Vietnamese sending agencies that have been licensed by the Vietnamese government to provide overseas employment services. Out of about 500 licensed sending agencies in Vietnam, more than 200 are our members. The mission of our association is protecting the legal rights and interests of our members and supporting them in achieving efficiency. We also represent our members in discussions and consultations with relevant authorities regarding policies and legal frameworks related to the overseas employment of Vietnamese workers. Regarding ethical recruitment, with technical support from the ILO, in 2013, our association developed and implemented a code of conduct for Vietnamese licensed agencies. This code of conduct establishes principles governing all stages of the recruitment process, from worker selection and training to deployment, overseas employment monitoring, worker support, and reintegration assistance upon the return. It requires sending agencies to strictly adhere to legal procedures and regulations, particularly concerning recruitment fees charged from workers. Our member agencies voluntarily commit to implementing the code of conduct, and their compliance is assessed annually by the association's supervisory council. The result of this assessment are publicly disclosed through mass media and on our association's website. Furthermore, our association actively supports the Vietnam-Japan Fair and Ethical Recruitment initiatives by JP-MIRAI and encourages our members to participate in this initiative. We also assist in developing ILO's zero recruitment fee policy and have collaborated with the ILO office in Hanoi to introduce this framework to our members. Thank you.
はい、クイーン副会長どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Mr. Quinn. So from Vietnam, we would like to welcome Mr. Gwen from Haiphong MTV, Chairman.
日本語で。
Hello, everybody. This is Haiphong Group. My name is Twin. So I would like to introduce myself. So I myself came to Japan from 2003 to 2006. I was a migrant trainee in Japan. And my impression, so I find this to be a very good program. So, but just because maybe it was just a luck that I had went through a very positive experience, but you know, I'm ever so grateful for all of the experience that I went through as the this trainee. So back in 2009, we have established this hyphen group, and as the president, so for the company, we have many businesses and Mitsubishi Motors, and we have the dealership. As a business segment, it is 100% hyphen subsidiary. We have the training. We have 510 employees in total. And then 2006, and so we are about to hit 20 years after the founding of our company. So when I went through the trainee, and I was able to go through the training and learn the language. So the Department of Justice, Ministry of Justice, and MHLW, I believe that the situations are improving all the more. And as I have said before, not everyone may be lucky to go through the experience that I had the privilege to go through. So it is the recruitment fee that we would like to have the recruitment fee as low as possible and have such schools and go through and learn about Japan at our company's operated training school. And we have actually established such education program. And for the recruitment fee, as everyone said, about 3 months of the recruitment fee, I could never give more. But then we really hope that it will be less than 3 months even. But as you all are well aware, so in the SMEs in Japan, they would like to hire migrant workers. And so therefore, it may be rather difficult for the major large-scale companies. It may be easier, but for SMEs in Japan, maybe that can be hybrid. 50% can be bared, the cost, by the receiving end. So in this quadrant, this is how our hyphens business segment has been. So from 2017, we have started the zero fee policy. It's only for limited members and excluding those COVID situation. So this is the situation. So we are encompassing those areas for electronics and for automotives, food industry. We have the trend increasing. And from 2015, about 12,000 dispatched as the country of origin, including the trainees and the migrant workers. And the benefits, I know that you are very much aware. So disadvantages point is where it's up to the Japanese companies, Japanese government. I really want you to look into this further to make it and facilitate, create a system where the SMEs will be able to participate in this program as well. Thank you very much. Not all applicable to large companies, I would say so. So next, we would like to ask, I'm going to skip Mr. Maeda, Deputy Director, Policy Planning Division, ISMOJ. So next, a Senior Director from Keidanren, Mr. Daisuke Wakisaka. I'm from Keidanren. My name is Wakisaka. So if you can go to this next slide, Keidanren. So I am a part of this group and the policy. So back in 2020, so we have had this program. And as Keidanren, in 2022, innovating migration policies, we have announced that. And soon afterwards, at Keidanren, so we have had and proactively engaging with the Advisory Committee on Immigration Residence Management Policy. And then 2024, we have established this new committee within Keidanren. So to facilitate the dialogue with sending organizations in Vietnam. And as an expert council, final report reflecting Keidanren's opinion. So we have established this Foreign Resident Policy Committee in Keidanren. So for foreign nationals and for ISA, for the foreign residents, and also we have other topics about the integration into the Japanese society. So when it comes to immigration, residency, management policy roundtable, we have covered a whole array of the topics pertaining to the policy as well.
So we have done the various measures to do the various activities. And as you can see the picture at the bottom, the first one is our recommendation from Keidanren, Japanese Economic Federations. But also we have on the right, second from the right, in the center, worked with the central economic federations. We have done the foreigners workers can work in the society, and that symposium is being held in Aichi Prefecture near Nagoya. And also the right picture is about 10% of the population is about foreigners in the region. And there's in the elementary schools, those children of the migrant workers who cannot speak the Japanese language yet, that we have the Japanese language lesson for the children of those migrant workers. And there'll be some of the visits that we have done. So for today's program, in the fair and ethical recruiting, and the Keidanren, we perceive that as a very important issue. So in the government, Japanese government, for the designing for the work is done for those works, and those expert meetings has been held for the those employment for skill development program and so on. But for the human rights of the foreign workers should be protected, and foreigners should be protected, and those initiatives and the proposing some of the policies from Keidanren as well. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Wakisaka. So from the Japan Labor Union Federations, from the legal office, for the Mr. Hajime Urushibara, from the Director of the Labor Legislation Division of the JTUC Rengo. So Mr. Urushibara, please. As it's been introduced, in the foreign workers labor legislations, my name is Urushibara from the JTUC Rengo Labor Union. So basically we do the consultation in regards to labor. So anything, even if it is nothing that if the foreign migrant workers do not understand, so we have established a chatbot to be able to address in 12 countries in 24 hours. And also we have done a consultation meeting over the phone as well. And also in social media, based on each country's language, we have conducting some consultation services for those migrant workers and foreigners. And for this topic today, in Rengo Labor Union, and we should eliminate those malignant or ill-intentioned recruitment agencies in the country of origin, and also to be based on the convention that we should be zero fin, that we have to make it closer. But for example, in the recruitment stage, are there anything that we can improve at the recruitment stage? There have been discussions so far, but for example, the language of the Japanese language skills is one of them. It has been discussed before that in the country of origin to study Japanese language, and that is a cost of the workers in the country of origin. But then who should pay for that? there'll be for the Immigration Service Agency in Japan also have some consultation services, but you need to have certain Japanese language knowledge to be able to go to that website and to click the button. If they don't know the Japanese language, after working in Japan, there'll be no good communication between the laborer and the employer and employee, and therefore this increases the mistrust because of the communication, lack of communication. So therefore, Japanese language skill is very important, and who should pay for that learning Japanese language is a very important issue that we need to discuss more. And then if you look at the situation within Japan, if you think of the human rights problem, in each country, the priorities on the human rights issue is different from in a different country of origin. But in Japan, we focus on harassment, labor safety, and long-term hours that we don't really see that as a human rights issue because it is the labor issue, and that has nothing to do with the human rights. And some Japanese people do not think there's a relationship between the business and the human rights issues. And as for the labor union, we need to establish the people do understand the important link between the business and human rights issues, and that human rights should be respected, so that companies can establish the very fulfilling and sense of meaning fulfillment in the workplace, and that should be the one of our movement that we are working on. Thank you. Thank you for your speech. Now, now we'd like to move on to the actual topic. But first topic is the ethical recruitment. To achieve ethical recruitment, what are the challenges that we are facing today? As we have people from all different positions, so I'd like to ask each one to speak individually. From Japanese side, from the employer side in Japan, I'd like to ask Wakisaka-san, Mr. Wakisaka from Keidan Ren. And as you talk about the importance of you mentioned about the importance of the ethical, fair recruitment, but in the communication within the organizations, in the industry, what are the specific challenges do you see in the ethical recruitment? Thank you for your question. Well, today, as Maeda-san has already explained in the beginning, in the first session, there's some radical change. We are facing a very strong turnaround time. Now it is proceeding to be replaced gradually from the technical training intern program to the employment of skill development program, because for foreign workers, the human rights of the foreign migrant workers should be very effective in preventing and respecting the human rights of the workers, and that is very essential in switching from TTIP to the Employment for Skill Development Program. So what is most important is in the past that we did have various problems such as human rights violation in the technical training intern program in the past. So therefore, we eliminated TTIP and make a new program. And that was when we go back to the original idea of this system and thinking of this system, in eliminating the background for eliminating TTIP, if you look back the reason, because internationally speaking, the framework for human rights protection, we didn't have enough framework to protect the human rights. So therefore, we should focus on in the new scheme to make the protection of the human rights, which is a very essential and important thing that we need to do. In doing so, in the international community, because we should also impress the global community to have the impression that Japan has transformed and changed significantly in the protection of the human rights. As Urishibara-san has also mentioned, for example, in the convention, that for example, the workers should not pay ILO convention, the introductory fees should not be charged to the workers. and according to the ILO convention, and we should follow that, and also being regulated as in the Japanese law as well. And so therefore, it's been those fees are sometimes the commissions for introduction of the recruitment has been sometimes used. That is why some of the human rights violation is happening. And so under the ILO conventions and international standard, that we should match with the international standard that we should focus on. And that is what we see. In other words, in the international community, that should be able to perceive that and they should be persuaded Japan is doing the to protect the human rights, and that is the most important aspect of these achievements and that we are trying to do. And in addition to that, in other Keidan Ren, in terms of the government and in actual designing the scheme, and what we like to ask the government to consider is the following, because in the fees and commissions for the recruitment, and when the foreign workers are paying these fees should be reduced, because it would be difficult to reduce to zero immediately, but then we should have a staged reduction of those fees so that ultimately we can achieve zero payment from the migrant workers or foreign workers in Japan of those fees and charges. At the same time, actually, in the foreign workers, when they pay the cost to come to Japan, if we think of this background, at the same time, however, in Japan, from the employer in Japan is also spending a lot of cost to invite the foreign workers to come to be able to work for the company. That is the background we have in Japan. And in Mekong Migration Network, Harima-san has already introduced in the data in Cambodia for the technical trainee intern program worker pays $5,000. For those specified steel worker program trainee pays $3,000. So $2,000 less for specified steel worker program. Because the TTIP is a very strict regulations. That is why it have to be at a lot of cost, and in those Mekong region countries. And in thinking about this, I think that from the employer side, for the TTIP compared to the specified skilled worker program, the employer also have to pay more. Very expensive cost at the employer. And also not just the money, but also that a lot of time have to be spent for TTIP. You know, if they end up in paying a lot of money, then even if with the goodwill employer go out of the market, and though it is quite difficult, and then only malicious and bad actors and the bad employer would only remain. But that is the concern of the Keidan Ren. So for Keidan Ren, we should do a good initiative, and good employer should be receive less so that they can easily employ the foreign workers. But for the bad employer, we should deepen the regulations and stringent regulation to do the to control them, and so therefore self-effort to try to become a good employer, and that have to be designed in such a way. Otherwise, it does not quite become a sustainable system and scheme. That's all from my comments. Thank you very much.
政府の制度設計、段階
Thank you very much. This is happening in multiple phases, but in terms of the government-led framework forming and such self-sufficient in the initiatives, yes. So then we would like to ask Benny-san to give us your thoughts from the private sectors. So in Europe, I know that the relevancy to the European companies. So in terms of the ethical recruitment, if you would like to share, what are the initiatives in Vietnam?
Actually, we are not a big customer in the industry, okay? Even we buy a lot of items like a router, like a TV or some home devices, set-top box to support our customer align with our services. Actually, there's some risk, there's some challenge we are facing to achieve ethical recruitment. I think first of all, it's about the bargaining power. Okay, as mentioned, we are not a giant buyer. Okay, so it is uneasy to persuade or lobby our supplier to make changes, even we identify that the issue has happened. Okay, I think two reasons from here is they are not aware, okay, the importance of compliance, especially if they are not working quite close with European or American companies. They think that, okay, it's still very far to us and I don't need to take care. Okay, so it make us frustrated to a certain extent. And on the other hand is their business are relatively small. The profit margin could not afford the reimbursement, for example, or to renovate their policy afterwards. So they may give up to do so. And I think Carol from RBA mentioned already is the legislation, okay, is important. Government should take more initiative on this area, okay. However, okay, we may notice that we have some good progress on some area. This is really great, okay, but some of them are quite backward or some a bit frustrating. So this is also a challenge for us. And some buyers may be relatively conservative, okay, in enforcing the requirement, okay, even they know that this is important for them, okay. Their policy, okay, on their website may be great, they have a procedure, but the actual execution may be apart from the expectation. So there are a lot of challenges, but I would like to highlight some of them here, okay.
Thank you very much, Mini-san. So one question to you.
あるんですけれども。
So your company resides based in Hong Kong.
まあありますね。それでこの皆さんの。
So then for everybody, so Sky in Hong Kong. Pertaining to recruitment role does not reside in Hong Kong, so it has to do with the headquarters, the European companies. Part of the European headquarter company, so you are abiding by the guideline. So what are the challenges, difficulties, since you reside in Hong Kong? So I believe in Hong Kong, such so-called hard law pertaining to recruiting fees included, and as the receiving end, are there any hard laws in Hong Kong, and what are the challenges they experience?
For Hong Kong, not for Sky, Hong Kong has not exercised any related law to have a cap for the workers' fee from those from abroad. Okay, for example, in Hong Kong, we have a lot of Filipino and Indonesian working as a domestic helper. Okay, and we know that. Okay, and even my siblings also have their support, and they are in debt. Okay, in some cases to get a job. Okay, and then not only in the sending country, but also in the receiving country as well. So we don't have law at the moment. Okay, so they suffered definitely. But in UK side, okay, we are Sky. Okay, we need to follow the UK law as mentioned, and we have a European business. Okay, we also embrace a EU law, and you may not be aware that okay, we have a Modern Slavery Act, and EU CSDDD are coming in force very soon. So we have been more equipped to demanding or asking, okay, our suppliers to be more equipped, okay, to tackle the issue. And through different training, different conferences, and support from our consultancy partner, we exercise different level of communication, training, support to them to have them more engaged about the issue. Deviation are unavoidable. Okay, we do find the cases that workers suffered a lot of from the paying fees from time to time. However, we do give them chance to improve because I think it is the spirit for the collaboration, okay? And then we try to let them know the advantages, which mentioned by another speaker earlier, that okay, from complying the requirement. For sure, we may talk more about what we have done so far later.
はい、ありがとう。
Thank you very much. So for now, in Hong Kong, that type of the laws and regulation do not has been stipulated, but you are abiding by the UK law, modern slavery law, as one example. So in the interest of time, I may be bypassing some of the questions. So for the country of origin, I know that we have the members from Vietnam. So we would like to ask Mr. King from BAMAS, Mr. Gwen. I know that you explained to us as BAMAS code of conduct and so-called rules, and you would like to monitor that. And you have been doing so, as you said. But unfortunately, in this day-to-day situations stipulated by the Vietnamese government, unfortunately, there are migrant workers who bear the cost much more expensive that we hear. So as BAMAS, what are the difficulty challenges as BAMAS? Anything the Vietnamese government needs to reinforce, or as BAMAS, how you can contribute any of the challenges, and what are the initiatives from BAMAS perspective, please?
Yes, I think ethical recruitment is to do all the process of recruitment, including the collecting of fees, according to the law of the receiving and the sending country. And we should do other measures to eliminate the fees the workers should pay. You know that Vietnam has not yet ratified the ILO Convention 181. And that's why the new law of Vietnam still allows the sending agencies to collect fees from the workers, but set a limit on the fees. For each year of contract, sending agencies can collect 1 month's salary of the workers, but the highest limit does not exceed 3 months of salary, regardless of how long the contract can be. But also the law of Vietnam requires the employers to pay for return air ticket, pay one part of recruiting fees to the sending agency, and to pay one part of training fees to the recruiting fee. And what the employer have already paid, the sending company is not allowed to collect from the workers. You see, that means that the new law of Vietnam also go to the direction of zero fee. If the employer already paid, then the service company cannot collect from workers. And but we see that there are many challenges to the ethical recruitment. First, the employer should ready to pay all the fees for the workers. I see that the RBA is doing very well with the code of conduct, and but not all employers are members of RBA. The members of RBA are only the big companies, multinational companies, but most of the employers who receive Vietnamese workers are small companies, and they are not member of RBA, and that's why they don't pay anything or pay very little for the recruiting and training of the workers. I think this is the most challenge of the ethical recruitment. And in our organization, our association, we already told you that we have the code of conduct to control the sending agencies to comply with all regulations of the law of both countries, and especially the fees, regarding the fees charged from workers. And we think to further reduce recruitment fees and move toward a system of zero fee, we have to establish the cooperation between all stakeholders, from government, the sending companies, receiving companies, and sending agencies, workers, and international organizations, and also social organizations. We think that if the receiving country can have the law that force the employers to bear all the cost for the foreign workers they receive, then that is good. Then the sending country also can prohibit the sending agencies to collect fees. So, and also we have to cooperate to have initiatives like our code of conduct, or VG ferry, or others. For example, we have cooperate memorandum with the National Association of Global and Open-Minded Communities, in short, it's NAGOMI from Japan, to protect the right of the workers, Vietnamese workers in Japan. And we cooperate, one part of the cooperation is to prevent Vietnamese sending companies to pay a large sum to entertain Japanese counterpart to get job orders. This is also small, but also one part of reducing fees. So I think, and also we should also educate workers about their rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. I think as a stakeholder, to deepen the understanding of the challenges and issue, so that the training and support to the country of origin is also very important to support the mechanism for that. And I had to ask Mr. Gwen as Mr. Gwen, the chairman of the High Fund MTB, you mentioned about not to receive the fees from the workers, and those recruitment agencies are increasing, not just the in the care, not just the private companies, but also like for the request to receive those for those companies, for example, in the area of care. What is the movement and initiative being done in this area? Well, other than RBA, non-RBA companies, but then was originally the RBA companies have worked on these issues, but in the other areas, the organization and companies has been increasing. In the receiving country and company, to get the good human resource is easier, and even though they pay the cost, but they would require the Japanese language skills, and in the Japanese language it should be the 5, or sometimes in the care, because you have to get always to be 4 or higher. I mean, the other type of work, in case of care, it has to be level 4 of the Japanese language. So in that case, then even though receiving company have to pay more, but it's easier to receive a very well-educated, and the quality of the worker can be improved. And then after the worker comes to Japan, they may have some problems and being stressed and so on, but then we can avoid those problems after they come to Japan. So, Mr. Gwen, I'd like to ask you, if the receiving company, if we are able to achieve zero fee for the worker, then in the president, what kind of payment that the company have to do. I think it would depend on case by case. Single payment before exiting the country of origin is usually between 300,000 yen to 400,000 yen per person, or in case of installment payment, that would be the 50. At the point of they would pay the 50% of that after entering the country. They can pay between 5,000 to 10,000 yen of the installment payment is possible. But for the receiving company, if the Japanese language skill is required, then that money, it should be higher. So that depends on the worker themselves too, on the educational level too. So it has been mentioned. So the 300,000 to 400,000 additional cost, even if you spend that more, then you can get the very good human resource and to be able to gain as the employer satisfied. And that so far, yes, I would say yes. As you mentioned, for those workers who are involved in the criminal activities or escape, even the zero fee of these obviously, because it has been not so many years, but from your perspective, what are the issues of in case of zero fee, we don't have such a problem. If it's a zero fee, we don't have such a problem of the criminal conduct or escape, no. And that is because and that is the very good aspect of and that is the receiving company can understand it better. But I'd like to mention one thing more, because if a zero fee is a country of origin, they collect no fees from the workers in the country of origin. But in general, in the intermediary, when they are the recruitment agencies and this intermediary company, they may take it from the worker. So that is a possibility that even though it says zero fee, it may not be actually zero fee for the worker. If you're going to, for the country of origin, because you would register, and then with the recruitment, so they have to do the recruitment, have to be done. Otherwise, zero fee cannot be achieved because they are the intermediary who try to get the fees. Thank you very much for what I wanted to say. In the ferry guidelines, it should not be a third-party intermediary to get the fees from the worker. And in Vietnam, but also, but in other countries, it is also that sometimes the sending out organization is separated from the recruitment agency sometimes. That could happen often, that worker have to pay to the intermediary brokers. And so therefore, there's been some of the discussion because of the cost before recruitment, but actual recruitment close to like sending a CV, curriculum vitae, used and so on. That is, we have to be very careful for those bad intentioned intermediary brokers, because from the country of origin, it may be zero fees, but then actually the money was actually being tossed around between different organizations. So that was a big problem. And now I'd like to ask again, it may be a difficult question, but I'd like to ask there are many questions done. I'd like to ask a question to the government, and for example, international standard and what you're considering now. For these things, if it is okay, I'd like to ask your consideration of these to the Immigration Service Agency of Japan, and if there's anything that you have noticed in today's symposium, I'd like to ask him that question. Thank you for your question. My name is Maeda. I'm from Immigration Service Agency of Japan. Today, in Japan, in 2027, from April 20 to June 2027, of this for 2 years, we will start the new system called the Employment for Skill Development Program. In Japan, as I mentioned earlier, the basic policy will be formulated, and that is we are preparing. That was already done and completed in March this year. But then we need to specify the area, which industry, which area that we would operate, and the operation policy need to be formulated, and we will work with the relating agencies as well as the operation guidelines will be established as well. And then for the receiving companies, this type of the regulation need to be created as well.
So on the relevant ordinances that we will be stipulating. So through the public comment, and I know that we would like to raise the engagement level and listen to the voices. So this summer time or so, we would like to issue that. So this training liver system, which we will be able to show to the society, and how the specifics, how the so-called guidelines, of course, we will be stipulating that as well. In addition, in relation to other countries, as I have presented earlier, for between the country of origin, there are MOCs that will be entered into. In principle, for those MOC countries, we will be receiving the migrant workers and the trainees. In the MOC, what should be done is exactly the point and the theme for this symposium today, that recruitment fees, how we can address that. To begin with, what is the recruitment fee? To begin with, I know that you have given us much comment today. So when you say fee, it has relevancies and it has different types of fees that may be incurred, and some definition may be inconsistent among the countries. And so we need to really raise such transparency for this recruitment fee, which we have identified by the Japanese government as a very important priority. So between the countries who have entered into MOC with Japan, we would like to focus and put in the effort for better transparency. And the cap for this recruitment fee, as I have said before, for Japanese government, the laborers, the foreign residents, we would like to set up the cap as well, and zero fee policy. So as Japanese government, so for the migrant workers, trainees, we're not saying it is okay for them to pay the fee. So zero fee is a to-be state. It's the ideal state that needs to happen. On the other hand, as it was commented before, in Japan, and there are many types of the receiving companies, from large to small to medium. So amongst many of the inconsistency amongst the stakeholders in the labor shortage in Japan, we need to have and receive the foreign workers to come to Japan to work in Japan. So we really need to alleviate the burden, and we really would like to facilitate many migrant workers to work and willing to work in Japan. And we need to become the country of choice. And with Keidanren too, and we have already established this stakeholders meeting in the council, and we have been discussing all the more. And with the relevant stakeholders and the public comment, we would like to hear the voice from the public as well. And through such series of the processes, we would like to be very much comparable to the international standard. We would like to be perceived from the global arena that Japan has really changed the way we receive the migrant workers. Maeda-san, thank you very much for your comment. I know that I did not want to put on the spot. I have additional question to you, so that this may be a kind of mean type of question. So unfortunately, MOC or RE, and you have had the commitment with the country of origin. Having said that, if all of the laws have been abided by, that is not the case. For the case of Korea, on quarter, for those countries who do not abide by such laws and regulations, like quota that like Korea applies, is Japan trying to think of applying that kind of concept in the stakeholders council or meeting? Has that idea come up? It's all about how we can raise the bar for execution level this is just my take on the situation. I would like to pose a question to you. So within the consideration amongst the Japanese government, and in relation to the country of origin and MOC taken into perspective for this Korea's quota system and for other countries as well. We have investigated other country situations, and in consideration, all of the above have been factored into our consideration. That said, due to the situation, the circumstances by each of the countries, it's not may not be all matching to the Japanese situation. So as you have put it, so just because MOC does not mean that we do not encounter any challenges or issues. In going toward this training and the labor system, so employment system, we would like to continue and discuss with the country of origin. So within this technical training program identified as the challenges for those ones, we need to be accountable and how we can better the execution level, implementation level is what we need to work on. So Mr. Maeda, thank you very much for your thorough response to my question. I know that we have prepared other questions, but in the interest of time. So lastly, I would like every one of you to give us your thoughts. So as Maeda-san has put it, we would like to become the country to be selected and not to be pointed out of not abiding by the human rights matters. So what we need to do going forward, we would like to ask every one of the panelists to give us what we should be doing going forward. In closing, I'm going to go in reverse order. So Bamas, Mr. Queen, Japan should be doing this and so forth and so forth. If you can give us your thoughts on that, that would be helpful.
If you have some comment, how we will tackling these issues, ethical recruitment, and so if you have some final comment to the audience, please share with us.
Yeah, what can I say? I see that the most Vietnamese workers who want to go to work abroad choose Japan as destination countries. You see in Vietnam now, yes, this year about 150,000 workers going to work abroad, and about 40% of them are going to Japan. And I think they still love Japan, love to work in Japan. Of course, if the cost to go to Japan will be lower, then they will be happier and more will want to go to Japan.
So if you can alleviate those, mitigate those burden, of course, will be selected from Vietnam. So the same question to Mr. Twin, please. Well, this is my take on the situation. For example, well, today in around the time of 2019, the levy fee was 8,000, but currently I believe when we investigated this, it's much lower than that, probably about 4,500 on average, due to the yen depreciation contributed to this, and also stringent laws and regulation up to the 3 months. So that has been capped. So the levy cost for recruitment fee and deducting those management fee in Japan. So due to the yen depreciation, and they were wondering which country to go, Japan, Taiwan, or Korea. They will be able to pick and choose, coming and working in Japan. Their salary is much better. And Vietnam, So about close to 600,000 Vietnamese resides in Japan. And so they do not want to go to those high recruitment fee areas. So that would be the Asian era. So those receiving end, Vietnam may be expensive. We should seek out more migrant workers from other countries. So Myanmar as well, it's cheaper. But Myanmar's economic expansion, and then this would be a iterative situation. So
as it has been mentioned about the fees until how many months should be many months. Instead of it's better to have a uniformity in deciding the cap in terms of the fees, because of course it would be impossible to achieve zero fee. We should use the hybrid, and because if the non-RBA companies, maybe RBA they can achieve zero, but if they pay for that, because that should be the installment payment, and also various measures can be considered so that the Japan could be the choice of the country that people want to go, and otherwise they would go to the other countries. So it's actually also the other countries also have the similar situation. That's all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Dwayne. And for this, this is like a slash and burn field agriculture in a way, and this is not a good way. But at least the people, because in thinking about the burden for the workers, they want to go to the country with less fees, and that is the important aspects of the aspects that Japan would like to become a country to be selected, and also for the directions that it is so therefore in the HR issues as well, so that we have to think about these challenges and issues that we continue to work on. Thank you very much for all these comments. So Benny-san.
I think from our point of view, Japan is less. I would say Japan is more preferable than other Asian countries importing foreign workers. We have less concern from here. However, I think joint collaboration is very essential, okay, to drive the changes, especially when the customers' bargaining power over some cases are very limited. I could recall that one cases we have coordinated by RBA last year, okay, in a Taiwan factory. Okay, we identified the issue about 2 years ago. Okay, the factory is committed to improve. Okay, but it takes 9 years to reimburse the workers. Okay, with the support of RBA, coordinate the meeting. Okay, negotiation. The key person is at the back. Okay, and we have moved it to about 4 or 5 years. It's not perfect, but this is it shows the power from the collaboration. And I trust that with more agents in sending country as well as in receiving country could be validated, okay, it can make Japan more have a more advantage from recruiting quality workers or a professional as well.
Thank you very much, Benny-san. This is a very important topic that every stakeholder should be involved in trying to resolve this problem. Thank you very much. Now, next, maybe the different sequence from Keidan Ren, Wakisaka-san. Your last comment, please. Wakisaka-san from the Keidan Ren. Thank you very much. I think in terms of the employer side, if we look when I listen to the employer's opinions, the quality of the foreign workers cannot be secured. And that is what we hear often compared to the past. In order to have the more high quality workers, we need to become a country of choice when they want to go work abroad. And also we also need to change the way of thinking from the employer side as well and transform that, because the employer side mindset is very important in a sense. Just to be able to use the foreign workers as a cheap labor, no, but rather they can work together to make the better Japan and better company as a partner that they should perceive the worker. And without such understanding, there will be some ethical report may be needed, and that is the way that we should go forward. That is what my thinking is. So therefore, in the employer side mindset, also need to be educated more, so that, and also we should reward and talk about the more case studies and examples of the good employer in this issue, and that's what we want to do more actively on these initiatives. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Urushibara, please. Yes, in just like Keidan Ren, we have the same opinion from the Japanese labor union, and after joining and going into Japan in a very severe like harassment and other issues, and the foreign workers cannot go out of that job. And if that's the case, these problems will persist at the point of entry. And even if you make the fees when they enter, but then sometimes workers have, because of the underground agreement or the contract, they have to pay, even though it is a zero fee. So there'll be some underground agreement or contract is made, so that is being clarified by some organization. But after, even if under the new legislation, there'll be some restriction of the human rights or restriction of the change of the jobs, and those contracts not to talk about that is also contracts of not talking about those underground contracts to be disclosed, and those type of agreement can exist in the future even if we talked about the quality of the workers who come to Japan, but once if you have the good recruitment agencies in country of origin, then the request goes to the same recruitment agencies, and they lose the capacity. So in that sense, and then once even being certified as a good recruitment agencies in country of origin, you need to make the regular monitoring of the situation and status in the country of origin as well. And lastly, I'd just like to mention we should pay the equivalent wages and more with the Japanese counterpart workers, and I think they would, so that those workers can continue to work in Japan in a very comfortable way, and that is what I'd like to mention. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for a very wonderful comment. Now, lastly, I'd like to ask Maeda-san if you have any last comment on this regard. Thank you. Today, in the recruitment, to be appropriate recruitment, and we discussed about the fees, issues, and problems, and so on. And as I mentioned earlier, as for the government of Japan, with the country of origin, in collaboration and discussion, consultation with the country of origin, issue of the fees, and also to be more transparent, and cap setting, as well as the kickback, those malicious or bad intended country of origin organizations should be eliminated, and that is what we want to aim for in our initiatives of the government. And why I'm going to change this scheme, that we should go back to the original source, and that is very important point, because we should protect the human rights of the workers, and that is the most important point. Because when we receive those workers, they are people and not the materials nor substance things. And those don't to be chosen as a country of people wants to go to work for, we should establish these systems and programs in very well. Because for everyone, we definitely need the efforts by the stakeholders as well. But as Urushibara-san has mentioned, it was the issue of the change of the jobs issue, as well as the underground hidden contracts. Those are the bad problems. So as for the government of Japan, we would design the system, but in actual operation of these programs, and people who are the users of the program, they need to comply with the regulations and laws of the country of Japan, for sure. And in addition to that, what the important point is that, as I mentioned as it has been mentioned by Urushibara-san, capability of the Japanese language is very important, because in the new scheme of this employment for skill development program, and that is and then also linked with the specified skilled worker program for the foreign workers to be able to work comfortably in Japan, they would need a good Japanese language skills. And also living in each community, as a community member, they would to be able to speak Japanese is very important, because for the receiving is very important for the receiving being received in Japan. In this new scheme of the employment for skill development program, how can we improve the Japanese language capabilities of that foreign workers is important. Among them, for the receiving company also should engage in increasing the Japanese language skills of those foreign workers, and that is very important.
So on that same verse, I know that we have much to say, but as the Japanese government, we will certainly like to hear openly and thoroughly from all of the insights and the voices from the public as well. Thank you very much. So I know that in a matter of a little bit over 1 hour, we have been able to hear a very robust and the fulfilling comments. So I feel humbled to try to summarize this very rich discussion, as the panelist says, and as Mr. Maida has put it. So we will be changing. We're trying to revise the how we can better receive the migrant workers and the trainees. We would like Japan to be selected, and we would like to become better as a country to be more receptive. And in order to do so, we need to improve the system at large. And even if it may be difficult to formulate this as a system from the outset, but we need to take one step at a time. And such bad actor, we are here to stay. That kind of situation need to be avoided. And such loopholes and such underground agreement, JP-MIRAI, obviously, we do hear about such voices about such situations. We need to avoid such loopholes or underground agreement situations. And in addition, zero fee. Of course, in this global arena, in the society, we need to really raise the bar. And RBA has presented us today, on the other hand, in Vietnam, and such country of origin. And then coming to Japan, some of the disappearance or such criminal activities are very low. And this is the fact basis. And Mr. Twin have said about 300,000 yen cost in installment basis in compared with amongst the companies. And then we have to ask the migrant workers to bear the cost. So those were also some of the issues. And as I have said at the outset, this is a very complex situation, difficult to gain visibility and substantiate the situation. So with the expert panels, we need to work collaboratively and to continue to engage in the dialogue and to try to seek out and higher level of engagement from the relevant stakeholders, and also and to extend that to the public voices as well. So this is the summary. And this is the ideal to be state that we would like to envision. So I hope that we would like to continue to work with all of the stakeholders in order to drive and better this fair and ethical recruitment of migrant workers. So it was 1 hour, 10 minutes. Please give a round of applause to all of the panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of the panelists.
パネリストの皆さんありがとう。
So again, we'd like to extend our gratitude to all of the panelists. So now it is time. So lastly, I'm representing the sponsors, JP-MIRAI. Mr. Akimito Shiabuki would like to give us the closing remarks. Mr. Director, please.
First, and then following my part in English, I will speak in Japanese. Thank you very much for coming to this event, joint seminar among the RBA, ILO, as well as JP-MIRAI. We are pleased to organize this conference, this seminar. And the secured and safe migration to the other countries is one of the human rights under the International Human Rights Convention. So we have to put importance on this event, this concept, as well as talk each other. Talk each other is very important, so that this seminar is one of the table or the venue to discuss among the people who are interested in this topic. Thank you very much. And from now on, I will speak in Japanese. どうもありがとうございました。
That's it. Thank you very much. So JP-MIRAI back in 2020 has been established and has been a platform for solving issues related to migrant workers with the support of many people, and has more than 800 members, including companies, organizations, and experts, among others. In particular, we have been able to expand our activities with the cooperation of many domestic and international organizations, including the business and human rights field, and consultation desk and the relief program that we have been working on since 2022. The launch of Ferry with the cooperation of ILO and RBA, which co-hosted this event, and other domestic and international communications. We would like to thank everyone for their daily understanding. Well, with interest in the topic of business and human rights growing worldwide, and with the domestic situation of ongoing preparations for the implementation of the training, employment, and employment system, we held a symposium with lectures from leading experts. So we need to really look for zero fees, one step at a time. So representation and the panel of experts, NGOs, and other related parties in this field, and a panel discussion that presented a multifaceted perspective from the receiving country and the country of origin, employer, and workers' perspective were presented. The shortage of human resources in Japan is becoming more and more serious, and without the active participation of migrant workers from outside of Japan, there can be no development of the Japanese society or the economy. In order to achieve this, Japan needs to become a country that is chosen, and I think it is necessary to create government systems, companies that accept them, and societies that accept them, that protect the human rights of migrant workers, the decent work, who come to Japan and enable them to work with a sense of purpose. So I'll be very happy if the perspective gained through today's symposium could help to realize decent work for migrant workers. Thank you for your kind attention.
それでは
Now it is time. So RBA-ILO-JP-MIRAI, we would like to close on challenges for a fair and ethical recruitment of migrant workers. So with this, we would like to close today's symposium. Thank you very much for your participation. We, JP-MIRAI, we will continue to engage in the activities, so we will be able to contribute for the better understanding and deeper understanding of the human rights issues. In order to leverage this opportunity, we would like to ask you to participate in the survey. So when you log off from the webinar, exit from the webinar, there will be a link for the survey. There's a QR code in front of you, so you will be able to respond by capturing the QR code.
質疑応答の時間が取れませんでした。本当に
So my apologies again. We were not able to have enough time for Q&A session, but this was a perfect time management today. So we would like to extend our appreciation for your support. Having said that, if you have the burning questions, you are welcome to write your questions in the survey. So we would like to ask for your cooperation. So again, thank you very much all for joining us today.